guys. So welcome to Suitcase Divas podcast. My name is Denise Diobaldi with Redbirds Travel.
And I'm Cheryl Garcia with ABCD Adventures.
Yeah, so today we are going to talk about all-inclusive resorts. This is episode 36. Super excited that we are that far in,
Right? Yeah.
So just to go over a little bit more about what an all-inclusive resort is. It's essentially a vacation destination that charges a single flat fee or a single fee that covers most of the things that you've got. So your amenities and expenses. So lodging, food, drinks, activities, entertainment, and also includes the taxes and the tips. Essentially, you go into this knowing that everything's included. That's the appeal of it. Just to give you a brief history, all inclusives started way back with Club Med in the 1950s. So they were the first resorts, and they were tents and basic straw huts along a beach in Spain. That's kind of how it started out. Now we've ramped it up much more since then. In the 80s and 90s, a lot of them marketed towards single people. But now they're popular for really anybody. It could be families, couples, honeymoon packages. Sometimes the wedding's included. We'll get into all of that and more. But they've come a long way since the 1950s of little huts in Spain.
Right? Yeah.
With paper straws. So let's go into like what types of all-inclusives we have.
So to break it down, simple, we're going to do two different categories of two different types and talk about those. The first one we're going to talk about is kid-friendly versus adult-only resorts. Those are pretty self-explanatory, right? Mm-hmm. But let's just talk about that real quick. So a perk, like Denise said, of going on these all-inclusives is you prepay for everything, and then you just show up and kind of take advantage of what's there. So with the kids resorts or resorts that are kid-friendly, it is what it is. They talk about, you have the options of like the kid activities they do, kids clubs, things like that. Most of the friendly all-inclusives also have adult-only sections, but there are also adult-only all-inclusive resorts. So if you don't even want to have to go to a separate part of a hotel resort, you can just choose the adults-only option from the get-go.
Yeah.
And then you have the other way we split this category is you have your luxury versus budget-friendly options.
Yes.
This is just like hotels with their budget and luxury options, from your 3-star to your 5-star. The amenities are going to vary. The accommodation styles are going to vary. Your food is going to vary.
Definitely buffet. You get what you pay for, essentially.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with either.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. It just, even with all-inclusives, you have a expansive variety of budget options to try to meet where you need to be. So that's pretty cool that you've got from your kid-friendly to, if you don't want to be around any adult or any kids, you can go strictly to the adults only, which, side note, in case you didn't know this, the adults only ones also offer an option if you celebrate the nudist lifestyle. They do have those options and secluded areas where you can go and just be one with nature and in your birthday suit. And it's very, very interesting. There are a lot on this before a couple times, and then, you have your options of choosing within your budget. So it's very inclusive for.
Well, and I will say not all. So for the family friendly ones, if you're going and you're hoping to put your kids in the kids club so that you can have some adult time, like it's a family vacation, right? But you want to put them at a resort that you trust that your 5 or 6-year-old can be gone for a few hours while you're kicking it at the pool or the beach or whatever. So you just want to make sure that you're definitely checking into the kids clubs if that's what you're planning to do. Right. They're not all created equally. A lot of the different resorts have amazing splash pads and water parks and water slides and stuff. So make sure that you're letting your travel advisor know what your expectations are, or if you're doing it yourself, just go in there and do some research about the kids clubs and what your expectations are.
Right. So now that we've talked about different types, Denise, let us know what the benefits of are choosing when you choose an all-inclusive.
I mean, so basically, this might seem like common knowledge, but essentially, it's just the convenience and stress-free planning. Like you said, you just show up and everything is included. You got your accommodations, your meals, the adult package. Some of them, depending on the all-inclusive, you'll have like an alcohol dispenser in your room. And so people love to go to all-inclusives, especially for the drink packages, because it is included. The activities are a little bit different. It just depends on more budget friendly, what is included, what amenity services. Also, when we're thinking about dining, it's going to come down to kind of like your budget friendly. There's going to be more buffets and stuff like that. Whereas your higher end is more a la carte or your sit down restaurants with menus. So it really just depends. Some of them have water sports included. You can get some of them are just kayak, motorized, and then some of them are motorized where it's included with like jet ski and things like that. Yeah, catamarans, all that good stuff. Now I will say with spa and wellness, that's pretty much you're going to pay extra for that. That's not going to really be included, like massages and facials and all that good stuff. There's going to be an add-on for that. So don't ever think, oh, it's an all-inclusive, so I'm going to get a massage every day, because you're going to be a little disappointed if that's like what you're thinking. So even with the spas, though, they do have typically an a la carte part. You can get the whole day in the spa, or you can just get a facial or just get a massage. So that is a good thing. You don't have to. You can, maybe if you're on a budget, you only get a half-hour massage, but
Right.
it's all customizable. And I mean, that is an all-inclusive. Pretty much everything is included except for a few different things. Like I said, the spa treatments and stuff like that. You are going to have to pay extra. The other thing that we didn't really touch about, but I will say some of the resorts you go to, it is a major, it's like stay at one, share it at all. So they have sister resorts. So some of them you can stay in one and go to the pools and the restaurants and all of that of their sister resorts. So look into that as well, because that is an extra perk or benefit that you might not know about.
Right.
So when we talk about choosing the right all-inclusive for you, what would you say to that, Cheryl? Because there's a lot of things that you need to factor in.
Right. And I would say the first one is destination. A lot of resorts or all-inclusive resorts are destination based. So like Caribbean, Mexico, Asia, there's so many places, usually outside the US, that are all-inclusive. And then you ask, why do we have them in the US? Yes and no. When we get asked this a lot about all-inclusives in the US.
There's not a lot.
And they're very not really all inclusive. So you can find some that will include most of your meals, some of your basic drinks, very little to limited alcohol, if any at all. They're usually out in like the West, more something like that. So when you think of all inclusives, you typically do not think of the US.
Yeah. We used to have the Club Med in Port St. Lucie, Florida. But unfortunately, within the last few years, they actually closed their doors too, and they're moving to a new one in the Midwest. Now, they do have a replacement at that resort, but I don't believe it's all inclusive. But that was one of the few they had.
Right. And I do know there are some places where you can add on things so that you prepay for meals, drinks, whatever, to make it sort of an all-inclusive, so that by the time you're on your vacation, all your stuff's been paid for. There are places in the US that have that. But when we're talking about all-inclusives, we are very rarely talking about a US based destination. So
that is correct.
Just thinking about your destination, that's where you're going to start when it comes down to your all-inclusive. Doing your research and reviews. Once you've picked that destination, you really want to look at your the reviews of not just the resort but the area, and keeping up to date on what's going on, because it's, like I said, it's outside of the US, so you're traveling out of the country. You want to keep up to date with what's going on in that area. Looking for the best times to book and the best deals. Some will ask, well, when's the best time for me to book an all-inclusive? As soon as you start thinking about it, you want to start getting on that train, because
Yeah.
the deals and the discounts, they vary and they fluctuate by resort, by destination, by time of year. So as soon as you're like, I want to do this, it's time to start working on it. And once you find it, you want to book it when you can, or reach out to like a travel agent or something so that they can tell you, okay, usually this typical resort will have a deal at
Right.
this time. You really need to narrow it down to kind of say when the best time to book is, because they vary by destination and resort.
And I would
Um,
say that the earlier you book is also a perk because that gives you longer to pay on the trip. If you're not paying in full and you're making payments on your vacation, it's
right,
good to book a little early because it gives you a little extra time to make those payments and not have it be so stressful month to month.
right. And then choosing the right resort, if when you're out there looking, using a travel agent versus online booking, there are perks for booking with, well, both. I'm sure you'll find deals online and travel agents can assist. Sometimes we have we'll get little perks from the vendors, whether it's the resort or the booking tool that we're using. Well, they'll offer us something that we can pass on to our clients. It's not always,
Yeah,
but we do get them. And it varies again by destination, by resort. So travel agents
exactly.
can take out the stress for it. I mean, we're always going to say use a travel agent because A, we are one, and two, we know the value that we provide.
That's true. Yeah.
And then you want to look into balancing your resort time with exploring the local culture, which we'll get into that in a little bit when we talk about like what things go on at the resort. But everybody's idea of what they're going to do on a resort is on all inclusive is different. Some go strictly just to take advantage of everything the all inclusive resort has to offer. Some go to explore the culture because you're staying there in that area and you want to immerse yourself in what's going on. So you got to think about when you're planning that, what is your expectations of that trip? So then that leads us into, where are we? Our special considerations.
Yeah, so here we're talking about like whether you're traveling with kids. So if you are in fact traveling with kids, you're going to want family friendly amenities, the good kids clubs, the good pools and splash pads and all that stuff. Um, Also think about safety and childcare options. Like make sure that those kids clubs have reputable people running them, and it's not kind of like you just dropping them off into a shit show and you hope that they're going to be
Right.
in one
Yes.
piece when you pick
Again,
them
those
back up.
reviews, you want to read those reviews.
That's right. Or book through a travel agent and
Who has
then
done
they
that work.
read all the reviews and they take the homework away from you and you just trust them to put you in a good spot. So, but then if you're talking about like romantic getaways, and I wish I'd known this back in the day, but so for example, like Sandals, if you book a minimum 3 night stay, it includes like a free wedding package. Now, it may not be as extravagant as a $50,000 wedding or whatever somewhere, but you do get the a ceremony. They'll put you in a little pretty like out on the beach setting, or you can have it up by the resort and you'll have someone, they give you a boutonniere, a bouquet, they give you the actual wedding cake. They have an hour cocktail reception for all the guests. Then you get like the next day you get a honeymoon breakfast with mimosas, and then that evening you have like a white gloved formal dinner. So they have really good experience, and that's just like if you stay with us for your honeymoon afterwards for at least 3 nights, then this is all just included. So definitely if you're planning to do an elopement, or if you're planning to do a destination wedding, if you want to renew your vows, I mean, these are all options out there that you should be looking into because it's free perks as long as you know where you're staying. And it just depends on the different all inclusive resorts. You really can get a lot of extra perks depending on where you stay.
Right.
So another thing that we're going to talk about is sustainability practices. So eco-friendly initiatives by all inclusives. You know that this is near and dear to our hearts, and we are going to go into that probably in a different episode, so we can give a few more talking points to it, because a lot of these resorts are being more eco-friendly, making sure they're using like paper utensils and disposable versus the plastic that are going to go into a landfill, not giving out water bottles, having you have a reusable water bottle that you just refill the whole trip. There's so many good options out there and ways that they can be a smaller footprint and more eco-friendly. So we are definitely going to be touching on that. Look for that down the road. So definitely good stuff there. And we're going to highlight the ones that are doing a standout job.
Absolutely.
Like we did with Virgin Voyages. I would say that they are one of the pioneers in this industry as a cruise line, trying to be more green, trying to be more sustainable. So a shout out to Virgin Voyages for that. Absolutely.
Right. So some of the other things that you might not expect to see or have part of an all-inclusive package is the technology advances with their apps. When I stayed at Rio, they had an app and it kept up with the activities. It kept up with like what dinner options or meal options you had, not just dinner, but lunch and dinner. It had the menus, it had the wait times, it had reservation options. Like I believe you could even schedule your spa services on the app. It was very comparable to the cruising apps that you get when you go on board.
Yeah.
So that is really nice that you can do these things and keep up with them. You don't have to wait for like a paper copy to be slid under your door for what's going on the next day. You don't have to go down to guest
That's
services.
so old school.
Yeah, to reserve, say, like a spot at the tennis court or to reserve your kayak. So some of these places have all that included in their app. So it really is super convenient, very easy. It's kind of like very comparable to cruising well being on land. So if you don't love cruising or you're nervous about that, but you really want the idea of the all-inclusiveness, the explorations or excursions out and about in the area, consider an all-inclusive because it's very, very comparable to how a cruising experience. I just thought that
and
was
if you
very
just want to park it at your resort and just every day go out to the beach and enjoy that downtime, it's whatever you want it to be. That's what I love about it. They're so customizable and flexible. It's really a dream vacation that you can do whatever you want. You've already paid for it in advance, and voila, you just show up and do what you want to do.
That's one of the biggest, I think, perks of an all-inclusive, similar to a cruise, is you prepay for everything. And especially like you said, if you book it out far enough and you've been able to make payments, it takes the stress off of it a little bit.
Yeah.
But this way, when you get to your vacation, your destination, you get to experience all of that without having to worry about, am I staying within my budget? Because you've already stayed within your budget. You set your budget before you ever arrived, and you've added everything on that you wanted before you arrived. So that's one of the, I think,
and one of the things I will say that is a perk is for like the one I stayed in Punta Cana. They have a relationship at these all-inclusive resorts with the locals that are going to take you out on an excursion and show you the lay of the land and take you to places that are safe and take you to vendors that are reputable. So they do work one-on-one with local vendors. So I think that is definitely a perk with the all-inclusives, is reach out to them. If you don't want to just stay on site all the time, ask them for their recommendations of who you should be booking for excursions. Don't just go out there and be like $20 and I'll take you on this excursion and you don't know anything about their reputation, where you're actually going. You want to be, especially if you're in a different country, you want to keep your safety wits about you and always go with the recommendations of these all-inclusive resorts.
Right. So let's talk a bit more about tips and how to maximize your stay. How to get the most out of your all-inclusive experience. One of the biggest things after you've already picked your destination and your location is picking the right room.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's worth it. This is where we think you should spend your time doing research and figuring out what fits within your budget the best, and where we would probably recommend you splurge a little bit if this was the time, because your room, you have so many options with pool, beach view, closer to the activities. If you'd rather be closer to the bar, do you want a private swim up pool? Do you want easy access, like where you're walking right out there? When you're picking your all-inclusive room, it's very similar to picking your preferences on a cruise ship, where do you want it near things? Do you want it further away? That picking your room, I think, is a very important part of the
Absolutely.
all-inclusive process. You don't want to just be assigned a hotel room. You want to pick the style of room that you want.
Yeah.
And it also takes us into the next part where is this the time you want to splurge on that room level? A lot of the all-inclusives have their different club level type rooms. They're all named
Yes.
different. Ryu has the elite club, Secrets has the preferred club. And Denise, tell us a little bit about what those two types, what they kind of add on to the experience if you upgrade to that style of club level room.
Well, so I will tell you, typically I do try to add this on, but because for like the elite club with Ryu, they have this whole amazing, like depending on the resort. I think the one that I'm thinking of is in Jamaica. But they have a whole nother rooftop bar and club and that you have access to that other people don't. You have your own lounge. Sometimes there's a VIP or elite club lounge that you can go to that is only for those people in those rooms. Um, and a lot of the elite club or that standard level comes with a butler that's included at that level. So do you want somebody to come and be, turn down your sheets or be making your reservations for dinner? So depending on the level of the room, you're really going to get that extra just VIP treatment. You even have a different place where you check into the resort. You don't have to stand in the regular line. You kind of get the fast pass behind the scenes. You go to a different part where they give you like a welcome drink. Not that you can't get that there, but it's just a different level of pampering that you get when you stay in these VIP and club level rooms.
And often the price
it's nominal.
Right. It might be worse. So that's why we really recommend when you're checking into this, after you've checked off your location, picked your resort, then we really dig deep into the style of room you want, because this is a little bit of a different type of vacation. You may be spending time in your room if you've gotten that private swim up pool, if you've gotten that really fancy 2-person hot tub, or like there's so many perks with those. And even just a basic room without that club level, you can get those swim up rooms, you can get those fancy hot tubs in there. So really spend some time looking into the types of room.
Yeah.
While we're talking
it's very
about rooms,
customizable.
this is something that I loved about, we did not take advantage of it enough when I stayed at an all-inclusive. Room service is included. And a lot of people in a lot of places, because you can get room service pretty much at a hotel, anywhere you go, but you're usually having a charge with it.
An upcharge service fee
Level. Yeah, there's usually a service fee. With the most all-inclusives, and then again, we'll always say most because every place is slightly different. So we always double check. But room service usually is considered part of it. So you can schedule, especially in that app, because we were able to do that. We didn't take advantage of it though, but to have it delivered at a certain time the next morning, to have lunch brought up if you've decided, oh, I've been out on the beach all day, I'm hot, I want to order, and then
or you maybe partook a little bit too much of the drink package on the first day, so you need a little resty day on day 2.
So
that's just what I hear from the kids around the block.
I definitely think people tend to kind of not remember room service as part of it, because if you're like me, if you're going to just stay at like the beach hotel or whatever, you don't think to add in room service or think about it, because it usually comes with a charge. So remember, take advantage of that room service. You get back late at night, order that pizza or whatever they have available. Just that was something that I wish I had done more of or taken advantage of. Another thing is knowing what type of trip you want. And we kind of touched on this a little bit ago about, do you want the easy one stop where I just show up and I'm spending my time at this resort that has access to the beach, that has a pool, swim up bar, all the food and drinks I want. That's all I want. Do you want something that has a little bit more where I can immerse in the culture and I can spend some time in the destination that I'm at? So then we would recommend you look at the resorts that offer really good excursions that meet the style of excursions you like, because
or like cooking classes of that culture. There are options that are part of the all-inclusive that are not an upcharge, that you can still get cultural vibes and learn a little bit more about where you're at.
Right. And some of the excursions, like if you just want to go out and shop near the local area, The only extra expense you maybe have is the transportation, which you can get from them, the Uber or whatever it is available in that area. Sometimes they'll have shuttles. So you
Sometimes the
really,
shuttles are free too. So it
right,
just depends
yeah.
on the resort.
That's why it's important to figure out what kind of vacation you're looking for. If you're looking for I just want to stay in this beautiful, large, private little area that I can just do, because some of the activities they have they have everything from like bingo to pool games to they have club nights. They even have theme nights, some of these. So if you're
Yeah.
into there's so much you can do where
There's
you
something for
never have to
everybody.
leave the resort if you don't
Yeah.
want to,
Hmm.
or if you want to explore the area. There are some resorts that offer better options for that, and that's where we would kind of suggest we look more into that. So knowing what type of vacation you want helps you pick and narrow down the so many all-inclusive options you have out there. So those are just a few things to keep in mind when you're maximizing your stay, how to pick your best thing, all inclusive, and what really isn't all inclusive. So Denise, you had mentioned you'd stayed at an all inclusive. So what were your thoughts on going to an all inclusive?
Oh, well, I love the idea. I do. I love all inclusives. I love the idea. My particular all inclusive, and I'm not going to mention the name, um, but we had a large group of like 20 people. It was a family vacation, aunts, uncles, grandpas, grandmas, moms, dads, cousins, Anywho, out of the group of 20, I would say 15 got food poisoning. So it really depends on where you're staying.
Well, just disclaimer, that can happen anywhere with
That can happen
one bad.
anywhere, and
Yeah,
it depends on how sensitive your stomach is. Because and it depends on what you choose to drink or eat. So my personal experience of the one I did go to, which is oddly only been one because I tend to cruise and I just go from port to port. I'm a cruiser more than an all-inclusive girl, but I want to definitely check out Moon Palace in Mexico. That is definitely on my bucket list for an all-inclusive. And I definitely want to check out Ariu in either Jamaica or wherever, just because I think they are very fun, very budget friendly. So I definitely am looking into Ariu in the future. I love the idea of all inclusives. I think that you really can't go wrong. And yeah, like you said, anything can go wrong, like our MSC cruise. Some people go on the cruise and they're like, this was fabulous. The weather was amazing. I didn't have any problems. And everything was kind of against us on that cruise. So you can have a good or bad travel experience. And that doesn't really have to have too much to do with, um, you know, it depends on the resort. I didn't get to pick this resort, so, and I think maybe not enough research did go into that. I don't know. But I think all inclusives in general are a fabulous idea. They're definitely the best bang for your buck. And I would always advocate for going through travel advisors because maybe if we had, they would have said, that's not really one that I would recommend. You know what I mean?
right.
So I think they're great. I think all inclusives are amazing. And I definitely am going to push myself to go back to one and hopefully have a better experience. And actually, I was one of the people that did not really get food poisoning. I did get an upset stomach, but I definitely didn't have food poisoning. One of our members had to go to the hospital for like
Oh,
2 weeks.
wow.
Like he had major complications. So
Oh,
his system was like definitely more sensitive. So yeah, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. That was just an experience that we weren't expecting. So, but all inclusive in general, my takeaway is absolutely do them. I look forward to them because I've booked so many people in all inclusives that have nothing but great things to say, how amazing
right.
it was, how convenient it was, that they didn't have to do anything except for show up.
Yeah,
So I definitely think all inclusives are amazing.
I
What
agree.
are
I
your thoughts?
actually did stay at Rio Montego Bay and
Okay.
loved it. It was my first all inclusive, my first
Okay.
time in Jamaica. Um, they picked us up at the airport. I absolutely loved it. I do think Rio gets the party vibe,
They do.
but here's what I found. We went with a group as well. It was a work trip for my travel companion, so I was just a guest. And it was absolutely amazing. We stayed in I don't even know how to explain it, but where the party, it was, even though this is a party resort and they had some banging parties, it was absolutely amazing. When we would walk back to our rooms, the way it was situated and the way the layout was, you never heard the music. It was so
That's good.
quiet.
That's
So
awesome.
I remember we were walking back, it was like 10 or 11, and you would think everybody was in bed, how quiet it was walking back to our rooms. But it's well lit. I never felt unsafe. We were right there at the beach. There were pools everywhere. They had great activities going on.
Yeah.
The group did end up going on excursion, but my travel companion and I did not. We actually explored the area and we went and got we went down to the concierge area and asked for someone local that they recommended to take us to just some
That's
shopping areas
good.
and explore. And
Good
they
for
took us
recommendations.
to he even stopped at amazing place. He's like, you need a picture here. You need to go. Some things we didn't know about that you wouldn't have known, but the locals told us. They stopped to
Right.
places to get the local food. I absolutely loved Ryu. I liked the food that they had there. Even they had a beautiful buffet. They also had several sit down restaurants that were included. Then they had the a
Mhm.
la carte ones you could add on if you wanted to step it up. The alcohol in our room was stocked and refilled daily, so that was amazing.
Do they
I
have wine in your room or just the liquor dispensers?
So they had the liquor dispenser. I think you could request wine, but we had they had liquor dispenser of 3 or 4 different liquors. I think it was 4 because I think it was 2 dark and 2 light liquors, clear liquors and 2 brown. And then they had beer in the fridge. Then they had mixers for like juice and sodas to mix with whatever, or and water bottles. So they restocked that. And when we took out what we didn't like and they saw what we did like, they only replaced what we really liked and stocked it
Nice.
up with that. So we kind of
Yeah.
got that one-on-one. And the other thing, I will say this about the beds. There was 2 of us, it was me and my travel companion, and we each got a king size bed in this
Nice.
room. And it was absolutely, I cannot speak highly enough. One of Rio, the people were
I
amazing.
know. I
I'm
love
telling you,
Ryu.
I can't wait to go
I
back.
book them all the time.
And we were just dropped into this beautiful destination. Didn't have to carry a
Was it
wallet.
close to the airport too, right? Not a long drive from the
Right, it was
airport.
close to the airport.
Yeah.
And they, like I said, they picked us up in this very nice air conditioned van. They had drinks for us at the airport on
Nice.
the way. Um,
Sounds like we need to go on site, do a
I'm
little
telling you, I would
recon.
absolutely go back to this Rio. We did do one excursion where through them where we took the snorkeling one, went out on the boat and went to a little private secluded island. I don't exactly remember what it was called, where you could buy food there. So your food wasn't included when you went there. You could buy it there. I believe that's how it was.
I got you.
But it was absolutely awesome.
Yeah,
I
awesome.
highly recommend all inclusives. I cannot wait to go back. That is, if you have and the other thing is those are easier to book, obviously, than a cruise, because if you decide to, like, this next weekend you want to go, you can easily get into an all-inclusive somewhere if it's in season kind of thing. They are good, quick trips. They are also good for a longer term kind of trip, but we need to do more all-inclusives. The divas need to travel to more all-inclusives. If you have
That's
been
right.
to an all-inclusive, one that we haven't mentioned, or even one that we have, and you would recommend we go to, please drop that in our socials and let us
Yes.
know. We really want to explore some more all-inclusives. Maybe that'll be our next adventure we go on.
Agreed. I think it could be. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So, with that said, that's going to wrap up our episode about all inclusives. And always feel free to reach out or write it in the comments below if there's a one that you love, if there's one that you absolutely would not recommend. We would love your feedback as always.
Yeah.
So, have a great day, guys.
Bye, guys.